And welcome to Hannity. So in just a few minutes, Laura Ingraham, Jay Sekulow, Sheriff David Clark will all join us. A lot happening tonight in the news, the repeal and replace bill, the Gorsuch confirmation hearings, and more fallout from James Comey's testimony yesterday. But first, a very important issue that few in the media will ever discuss. Now, the president remains steadfast in his commitment to fix the illegal immigration crisis in the country. Now, whether it's building the border wall, ending sanctuary cities, or the deportation of violent criminal illegal immigrants, any action to restore law and order must be swift because American lives are being lost and are at risk. Now, it's time to put an end to America's illegal immigration crisis, and it is a crisis, and that is tonight's opening monologue. All right, so remember from the very first day that Donald Trump announced he was running for president, combating violent crime carried out by illegal immigrants has been one of his top concerns. You may remember when he said this way back in 2015. Take a look.
The U.S. has become a dumping ground for everybody else's problems. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. It's coming from more than Mexico. It's coming from all over South and Latin America, and it's coming probably from the Middle East.
All right, following those candid remarks, then candidate Donald Trump, remember, he was mocked, he was ridiculed, he was blasted, he was demeaned by the alt-left propaganda destroy Trump press. Now, here's a small sampling of some of what took place when he said that.
When you say that immigrants from Mexico are criminals and rapists, isn't that spreading hate? The things that he considers just blunt talk, it is clearly offensive.
I'm outraged, Michaela. I can't understand how is it possible that a presidential candidate for the who wants to be president of the United States can speak and use hate language.
The natural reaction is to think he's a clown, let's ignore him. Say something derogatory to a Latino, and they accept it. That is the disrespect that the Latino community felt. That's what bubbled up in social media.
Now, sadly, despite this outrage from the biased press, well, violent crimes that are carried out by illegal immigrants continue to take place, including just last week when, according to reports, 2 immigrants from Central America, 18-year-old illegal immigrant Henry Sanchez Milian, pictured right there, and 17-year-old Jose Montano, they allegedly brutally raped a 14-year-old girl in a bathroom stall. Now, this was at a high school in Maryland. Now, despite their age, the pair of alleged rapists were attending high school as 9th graders. They're here illegally, at least one of them. So this terrible crime is just the latest in a long list of Americans who are victims because of illegal immigration. Now, during the presidential election, the murder of Kate Steinle became, well, national news. Why? Because in 2015, she was murdered in the sanctuary city of San Francisco by an illegal immigrant who had been deported 5 times. We're not protecting the American people. Now, of course, these high-profile incidences, well, it's only the tip of the iceberg. Last year, right here on this program, we held a town hall with then-candidate Trump. And we had mothers whose children were killed at the hands of illegal immigrants. Just for a second, imagine if this were, God forbid, your child.
My son was an integral part of the community, and his life was cut short by a repeat criminal.
As the illegal drove by, he shot into the passenger side. My son was sitting at a red light, waiting for it to turn green. He was less than a mile from his home.
Now, for years, right here on this program, we have been raising real concerns about illegal immigration. We've been down to the border numerous times. Back in 2014, remember, I was with Governor Rick Perry down in Texas, and we sat in on a border security briefing. Listen to these crime statistics.
Criminal aliens have been responsible for about 642,000 offenses, criminal offenses.
Governor, I've been down to the border 8 times now. 8 times, and I'm learning things here today that I never knew of, and I'd like to consider myself pretty informed on this issue. 642,000 crimes in 7 years
have an orchestra, that we have brave men and women that are literally using military tactics to fight what they consider to be cartels. 642,000 crimes committed against Texans alone. Then between 2011 and February 2017, in the state of Texas, well, illegal immigrants were responsible for 1,162 homicide charges, 68,151 assault charges, and 6,098 sexual assault charges. Now, of course, Texas, that's not the only state impacted by criminal illegal immigrants. In 2015, 36.6% of all federal sentences were given to illegal aliens, including convictions for drug trafficking, kidnapping, and yes, murder. Now, what I'm about to tell you, you're not going to hear this in the mainstream media. Between 2013 and 2015, despite the dangers we just showed you, the Obama administration released 86,288 criminal illegal immigrants right back into the general U.S. population. Now, thankfully, the era of Obama is over. We have a new president, and he has a new attitude. Watch this.
I met with many American families whose loved ones, sons and daughters, husbands and wives, were viciously killed by illegal immigrants. These American victims and their families were ignored by the media. The media doesn't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. They were ignored by the consultants. They were ignored by Washington. But these Americans were not ignored by me. They were not ignored by you. You showed that on November 8th. They were not ignored by you, and they will never be ignored by any of us.
So President Trump is right, was right. We can never forget those whose lives were destroyed by illegal immigrants. Here now with reaction, Laura Wilkerson. Look at her case. Her son Joshua, brutally beaten and killed by an illegal immigrant in 2010. Also with us, Sabine Durden. Her son Dominic, also killed by a drunk driver in 2012. The driver, an illegal immigrant. Thank you both for joining us again. I appreciate it. You know, we've got a lot of news today, and Laura, I've known you now for some time, and we're going to talk about Neil Gorsuch. We're going to talk about the health care bill, and we're going to talk about all the other news of the day, James Comey. But I read this story, and I thought of you. I thought of the town hall that I did. I thought of the thousands of other parents in your situation, and this will get no media play. But people will make fun of the president or then candidate Donald Trump. What do you have to say to those people that have not lived through what you lived through?
It disgusts me. I'm so disgusted by what I hear about this rape. This poor child of 14 years old is forever scarred. She will be forever live her life here on a different plane. I equate it to like having a stroke and a heart attack at the same time. She's going to have night terrors. She's going to wake up screaming in the middle of the night. She's going to be right back in that cubicle where they raped her. Any time of day or night, it's going to live in her brain for the next couple of years. And then if it does settle down a little bit.
And think back when Donald Trump came down that escalator announcing he's going to run for president, and he made those initial comments, some are rapists, some are murderers, and the brutal, vicious, vile, that's racist, that's wrong, that's inappropriate. He wasn't wrong. It's true. There are a lot of good people that cross the border illegally. They just want a better life. I get it. But there are a lot of people that don't belong here.
He was not wrong. He was right, exactly right about what he said. And I agree with him still today. And you can see this is another case of it. But I want to tell you that girl is going to do something for the rest of her life. She will never be the same. And I'm sure the two kids that came over were undocumented children by themselves. You cannot mix the cultures and some of the things together and have it mesh. It's not working. They need to be out. They're criminal for being here in this country in the first place, and they need to be gone.
I see this, and I'm thinking, nobody is going to talk about it in the mainstream media. You know, I don't know what the coverage was at the time. Go ahead.
And like Laura said, this young lady is changed forever. Her family, her friends, she will never be the same. She will never grow up as she would have without this happening. And what does it take for people on the left or on the right? Does it take your child in an urn, like my son, my only child? Does it take that for somebody to wake up and get behind our president to stop this insanity with the illegals crossing our borders, harming our citizens? When are we going to come first? Get
You're never going to be
behind
the same
President
either, are you?
Trump. No,
Yeah,
never. I won't ever be a grandmother or a mother-in-law. My life's completely changed. I moved because I couldn't handle California anymore.
Yeah, it's so sad. We lost Laura. Thank you, Sabine. Thank you. You're in our prayers.
Thank
the
you
media
for having us.
needs to start telling the truth instead of putting on one commentator after another that says these outrageous things. Also here with reaction, author of the best-selling book, Cop Under Fire, Moving Beyond Hashtags of Race, Crime, and Politics for a Better America, Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark. Sheriff, I got to imagine as part of your daily job, you have to deal with people that suffer like these parents, and probably there have been those moments you have to tell them, oh, sorry, your son and daughter is dead. Sorry, they're not alive. What happened? They got killed. And then in the case if it's an illegal immigrant, then you say, why does our government not protect the American people?
Sean, it rips my heart out to listen to those angel moms, and may God comfort them in their time of grief. Look, this stuff is avoidable. That's stuff that angers me. We're talking about some failed policies, these sanctuary cities. We're not asking much. When I say we, I'm talking about ICE officials. We're talking about this anti-detainer policy that many of these sanctuary cities adhere to, where they will not hang on to individuals until ICE can get the paperwork together and the case together to schedule them for deportation. That's not asking a lot just to hang on to them. These things are avoidable. I heard about that rape case, that young 14-year-old girl, these subhuman creeps. And the thing that really angered me is one of those guys was out awaiting a deportation hearing. That's why I said these anti-detainer policies. We don't need to change the law. We're not asking local officials, as ICE anyway, is not asking local officials to enforce immigration. They're just asking them to honor a detainer, a lawful piece of paper that says hold on to this individual until we can get the deportation schedule. These things are killing communities. They're killing cities. It is obviously, it's become a haven for criminal activity, these sanctuary cities. This is going to come to an end. I thank God every day since the November election that Donald Trump is the President of the United States. We are going to get our arms around this thing. I've made it clear I'm going to help him. I've made the application to participate in the 287G program. But even before that, up to this time, through the Obama years, when he suspended the 287G, I have still been working with ICE. And when ICE has given me a detainer for the last 8 years under Obama, I have honored that detainer. These guys are career criminals. You put them back out. You mentioned Kate Steinle, only to go out and re-victimize other people. I don't know how any law enforcement official or public official, a mayor or governor, can sit back with a straight face and say our communities are stronger because of illegal immigration. These two moms that you just talked to, their state failed them, their local community failed them. But we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that not too many more people have to go through what they're suffering right now.
All right, Sheriff, good to hear your insight on this. Really appreciate it. And been putting aside the trillions of dollars on health care costs, criminal justice system, the educational system. Just imagine for 1 second if that's your son or daughter, killed or raped. Mainstream media going to ignore this? Up next.